We've been sold a massive lie. We've been told that if we just had more discipline or grit, we'd stop scrolling and start living. But let me tell you something. You aren't losing a fight against yourself. You're losing a fight against a multi-billion-dollar algorithm designed to bypass your logic. You're trying to use a teaspoon of willpower to put out a forest fire. Stop blaming your character and start looking at your battery. If you're exhausted, it's not because you're lazy. It's because your phone is a silent predator eating your energy while you think you're resting. It's time to stop trying harder and start playing smarter. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rhonda Lavoie podcast. I am your host, Rhonda Lavoie. I am so glad to be back with you today. If you noticed a gap in the schedule last week, it's because I finally hit a wall, and honestly, I knew it was coming. Just over 2 weeks ago, I had a massive milestone, my 50th birthday, and we had the official launch party for the Paste app, and it was a lot of fun. But it was a huge week, and leading up to it, I was going hard. I knew I was pushing my luck, and I was probably going to get sick. But I just wanted to make sure I made it to that date. And as expected, that following weekend, once I knew I had made it, I finally allowed myself to relax and I got sick. But instead of trying to push through, like I might have done in the past, I just allowed myself to take the time to recover. I canceled the podcast episode because I knew you guys would understand that even a person talking about systems needs to listen to her body. But here's the truth about willpower. Even when you know what's happening, when you're that depleted, your brain just wants the path of least resistance. I didn't have the energy for anything productive. I didn't even have the energy to walk to unlock my distracting apps on Paste. I just sat there and binge watched a full season of Castle. That was it. That was all the juice I had left. And I want you to hear me on this, because it's not just about being sick. There is a $1 billion, maybe even a $1 trillion industry spending millions of dollars every single day fighting for your attention. They actually hire neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and even casino and slot machine designers. They have data scientists and AI experts building algorithms specifically designed to keep our attention and steal our focus. So when you're sitting there at the end of a long day, you aren't just fighting a bad habit. You're fighting a team of experts who have designed a trap for your brain. Today, we're going to look at why your willpower is a limited resource, what my nephew Jesse taught me about digital hangovers, and why you should never go to the digital grocery store when you're hungry. I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever gone to the grocery store when you're absolutely starving and exhausted? Maybe you just finished a long meeting, or you're coming off a stressful closing that went sideways. You had a plan. You were going to get the healthy stuff, the chicken, the salad, the things that actually fuel you, the things that are on the list. But then you hit aisle 4. And suddenly those salt and vinegar chips aren't just a choice, they're a necessity. The chocolate bars at the checkout start calling your name like they're your best friend. Why does that happen? It's because you're out of willpower. In psychology, they call this ego depletion. Now, don't let the name throw you. It's not about having a big ego. In this context, your ego is just the part of your brain that handles your executive function. It's the boss of your brain. It's the part that makes decisions, resists impulses, and keeps you on track. But here's the kicker. That boss part of your brain has a battery. Every time you make a decision, what to wear, how to handle a difficult client, what to cook for dinner, you're draining that battery. And by 8 p.m., the boss has left the building. The battery is dead. Expecting yourself to resist a dopamine-engineered app when you're hangry for rest is a losing battle. It's not a character flaw. It's just bad timing. You're trying to use a teaspoon of discipline to put out a forest fire. This actually played out in a really visible way in my family recently. We did this challenge with the kids. If they could keep their screen time to 2 hours on weekdays and 5 hours on the weekends, if they stuck to it for 3 weeks, which was to the end of the month, I was going to take them skiing and snowboarding. And they did it. It was amazing to watch. They spent more time with us. They had to sit in boredom and figure out what to do with their hands. They were present at the dinner table. But as soon as that 3 weeks were up and the reward was over, the skiing was done, and the devices came back out in full force. And that's when I noticed something in my nephew, Jesse. Now, Jesse is usually a very alert, happy morning person. But suddenly, I'd see him emerging in the morning with his hoodie pulled up around his face, basically hiding from the world. He was yawning, hunting for coffee, just drained. And I asked him, if he was staying up late or, if something had changed. But he hadn't. He was still putting the phone away at a decent time. He was still getting the same amount of sleep he did during the challenge. But the quality of that rest was gone. That was the aha moment for me. Jesse wasn't tired because he lacked sleep. He was tired because of what the phone did to him while he was awake. We call it mindless scrolling, but it is actually mind-filled scrolling. Your brain is processing thousands of images and hundreds of different emotions every few minutes. You think you're decompressing, but you're actually redlining your engine. Even though Jesse was sitting perfectly still on the couch, his brain was running a marathon. And that's why you wake up feeling like you have a hangover, even if you didn't have a drop to drink. Your phone didn't give you rest. It gave you a silent, invisible workload that left you bankrupt by morning. Does that resonate with you? If you've ever felt that screen hangover, do me a quick favor. This podcast is for the woman who's tired of the polished version of success. If this conversation is helping you feel a little less alone in that struggle, please hit subscribe and leave me a 5-star rating. It helps so much in getting this conversation to the women who need it most. So let's get back to the Jesse story. Let's talk about why Jesse felt like he'd been hit by a truck, even though he did nothing all evening. Once you see the mechanics of what's happening in your brain, you can't unsee it. And you'll finally stop blaming yourself for being tired. There's a psychological concept called, and I might butcher this, but I'm going to try. It is called the Zeigarnik Effect. And it explains exactly why Jesse and you wake up with your hoodie up and your energy at zero. Basically, our brains are wired to want to finish things. When you start a task, your brain keeps a mental file open until it's done. But when you are on your device, you are opening dozens of files a minute and never closing any of them. Think about what happens when you're just killing time. You see an ad for a pair of boots and suddenly a file opens in your head. You start wondering if they're on sale or if you want them or need them. Then you see a video of a messy kitchen being organized and another file opens. Now you're thinking about your own dishes. Even games do this. When you play a mobile game, your brain opens a file for that next level, the reward you almost reached, or the next loop in the gameplay. Because these games don't have a natural stopping point, that file stays open in the background, hunting for completion. Or maybe you check a client email that popped up. And even if you don't answer it, that file is now open and draining that battery while you're supposed to be resting. Social media and gaming are designed to never let you complete the task. There is no end to the feed. So while you're relaxing, your brain is actually sitting there wide awake, keeping thousands of those mental files open at once. It's like your laptop if you have 50 Chrome tabs open. The fan starts to spin, right? The computer gets hot. The battery dies twice as fast. That's what we're doing to ourselves. That's us. That was Jesse. That's you at 9 p.m. You're sitting on the couch. Your internal fan is spinning at 100%. It feels innocent, but you are working for the app. The app is not working for you. So if willpower is a myth, if we're all just hungry shoppers in a digital world, how do we actually win? You don't try harder. You stop relying on the battery that you know is going to be empty by the end of the day. You use a system. In my real estate business, I don't rely on my memory to track a closing. I use a CRM. Your phone habits need a CRM. They need a guardrail that doesn't care how tired you are. I've been using Paste for about 3 weeks straight now, and I've noticed something huge. The shame is gone. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to quit using my phone. I like my phone. I just don't want to get stuck in it. And for the last 3 weeks, I've had this incredible peace of mind because I know that Paste has my back. I don't have to white knuckle my way through the evening because I know the app isn't going to allow me to get lost in the scroll hole. It's like hiring a bodyguard for your focus. It creates that pattern interrupt so I can have better control without having to be perfect. If I want to get back into an app when I'm tired, Paste asks me to take 100 steps. It sounds so simple, but it's genius. It forces me out of passive numbing and into active recovery. Those 100 steps around the kitchen island tell my nervous system, hey, we're moving, we're awake. It breaks the spell of the scroll. The pro version is $49.99 a year, but there is also a 7-day free trial. So you can see for yourself if it works for you. It's an investment in your energy so you can show up for your life instead of hiding from it. If you're listening to this and you're feeling that dry eye exhaustion, if you're feeling guilty because you didn't have the discipline to put the phone down last night, I want you to stop. You aren't a failure. You're just depleted. We've been sold a lie that we should be able to do it all the time, with perfect self-control. But the reality is that your willpower is a limited resource. My challenge for you this week is to identify your vulnerability window. In that window, stop relying on willpower. Give yourself a guardrail. Whether it's using Paste or literally leaving your phone in the kitchen, start being kinder to your brain. Give yourself the gift of actual rest, not screen rest, but real rest. I know you're probably driving or multitasking right now, so don't worry about trying to memorize everything we talked about today. I put all of this information and links to the apps in the show notes at rhondalavoie.com. And finally, if you need help creating that friction in your digital life, check out the Paste app. If you're an Android user, you can find it right now on Google Play Store. And if you're an Apple, the waitlist is open for you at getpaste.app. We're building the tool to help you reclaim your focus one step at a time. I'm Rhonda Lavoie. Keep it real and get it done. I'll see you next week.